Over the last week or so, we've spent some time looking at other tanks, but I want to circle it back to the Brewmaster because we have seen some changes in the most recent build. So I'm going to talk about those here in this video, talk about kind of my opinions about the changes and the direction that the class is moving in. Now, of course, caveat, it's early alpha, anything and everything can change. Also, I'm not really talking about how good it's going to be. I just want to share what is new and what direction the class is moving in. So, all right, let's dive in here. For context, I am inside the raid, so I'm being scaled up to level 90. So I'm able to utilize all of my talent points. Just for those who aren't aware, when you level up, when you hit level 81, you're going to get a spec tree point. Then next level, it's a class tree. Then it's hero talent. Then it's spec, class, hero talent, spec, class, hero talent. And then lastly, you're going to end on a spec point when you hit 90. Now, presumably, 4 of those points are going to go into your apex talents if they're good. And so the only actual additions you're getting to your tree or more options you're getting is going to be on your class side. The hero talent tree, you obviously have to take everything here because you have enough points to take everything. And then you don't really gain anything on the right-hand side unless your apex talents are kind of bad, which tuning will tell. So what did we get in our class tree side? Now we got a couple of new talents that they have added. Starting off, we actually have Still Step Coil. Leg Sweep applies Disable for 5 seconds when it ends. Now, if you don't know what Disable is, that's okay, because Disable is a never used talent in our class tree that slows the target movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds, and it's refreshed by your melee attacks. So, presumably, there will be an extension on the 5 seconds whenever you melee attack a mob that gets affected by Leg Sweep. Now, this is nice, but to me, it comes off immediately as a PvP talent. It's a thing that'll save you spending the energy, and it applies it to all targets in range. It's not like this is an AoE compared to, obviously, Disable, which is a single target button. The only issue that I have with this is if it's affected to CC immune mobs, but also generally if a mob is CC immune, it also is immune to like slows and stuff, so we'll have to see about that. Another talent that they added is called Reinvigoration. After using Detox successfully and you remove an effect from an ally, they get a 30% movement speed for 5 seconds. This doesn't seem that impactful. We don't know, obviously, in endgame content, we don't know what's going to be dispellable, what's not, and if this movement speed is going to be applicable. Like, generally speaking, I feel like sometimes when you dispel someone, like they might just be standing still anyways, doing damage or casting or whatever it might be. So I don't think this will be super useful. Again, feels way more like a PvP talent than anything else, so you'll probably ignore it. And the last big talent that they changed or added, I guess, is the Silent Sanctuary. Now, I like this thematically, but I need to see bigger numbers on it for it to be worthwhile, at least as Brewmaster. So what it does is when there's no enemies within 15 yards, you're going to heal for 8,000 every 3 seconds. So obviously, that per second is, I don't even know what the number was, 8253, 8253. Yes, I'm clicking. I don't have a numpad on this, and I find the number keys to be a little bit more annoying to hit. So let's divide this by 3. So you're healing for 2.7k per second. Cool. The problem with that is I have 530,000 health at level 90. That is going to be 5% of your health every second. It's like, it ends up being like 1.25 or 1.5 every 3 seconds with this. So it's like a super, super minor healing gain, and you'll probably run it. But the problem is it's only when no mobs are within 15 yards. So it's an interesting kiting tool, like as a Brewmaster, when you need to roll away from a pack, maybe healing for a short bit, obviously is like, while kiting could be good because you're not hitting the mobs. But it's like also just like it's almost like a recovery tool between pulls, which also, it doesn't take you 9 to 10 seconds. I guess it depends on the dungeon, but like when you finish with the pack, you're generally getting into the next pull within a second or 2 or maybe 5 seconds. But even then, that means you're only healing for like 1% of your health. So the number on this currently seems really small to me, but they can always make improvements. Outside of that, there weren't any crazy changes. I guess what I should probably do is pull up the official notes. That'd be a good idea for me to do, wouldn't it? I don't even know if I can find the notes. It's so old. That should be it. Yeah. All right. So when we go all the way down to Monk, so there were some tuning things that I'll talk about in a second, in my opinion on that. But basically, we got Silent Sanctuary, Still Step Coil. There are some talents for Mistweaver specifically, but I can't really talk about that because it doesn't matter. Yeah, so these are all for the Mistweaver Monk. So good changes there. I guess small little shout out if you are interested in the Mistweaver stuff, I think Megaset posted a really good video about it, so go check that. Oh, and Ferocity of Zuen was changed to a 2-point node, so now you get an additional 2% damage dealt. Again, that's where like a lot of the tuning comes down, so this doesn't really mean anything. Now, one thing that they did do is they buffed Fuel on the Fire and Breath of Fire damage, which has some interesting connotations. It means that, oddly enough, they're already in like the tuning phase, which I think is scary. We don't want to be in the tuning phase yet, this early in alpha. We don't want them to be really adjusting these numbers quite yet. Maybe it'll make questing easier. I don't know. But basically, that's surprising. I'm glad Breath of Fire is getting a bump, though, because Breath of Fire never feels like a very impactful ability when you hit it. It always feels like a filler. The damage up front is never big unless you're playing specifically Dragonfire Brew, but even then, it's like nothing to write home about. Where, like, I feel like Breath of Fire should be potent enough to feel rewarding to hit. So I hope that the direct damage change makes it feel better, but I guess time will tell. So let's talk about Shado-pan really quick. I'm not going to talk about Master of Harmony in this video because it's still under construction, as you can see here. We don't have points yet. So there's a couple of things going on with Shado-pan. First off, they did introduce the 3 new points, and to no one's surprise, all they did is they baked in the old Wisdom of the Wall, dealing shadow damage. They baked in our old tier set, which is activating Weapons of Order instantly gives you 10 stacks of Flurry Strikes and triggers an attack at 70% effectiveness. And they gave us the one where Flurry Charge generation increased by 50% and Flurry Strike activates every 150 energy spent during Weapons of Order. Now, this is odd to me, because they changed how Flurry Strikes operate. Now, if you missed any of my last videos, basically what they've done is they've made Flurry Strikes, instead of being contingent on energy expenditure, they have made it so it always applies from whenever you Keg Smash. So here we go, we Keg Smash, there's the Flurry Strikes, we're gonna Tiger Palm, Keg Smash again, there's more Flurry Strikes, and then we're gonna wait for another Keg Smash here in a second. Now we're gonna Keg Smash, there's more Flurry Strikes. So basically, they have reworked it. So having the energy expenditures in here doesn't make sense to me. The 10 stacks and instantly, you know, expelling those stacks when you pop Weapons of Order makes sense. But it doesn't make sense with the energy spend, and it doesn't make sense because we don't have Weapons of Order in our toolkit. Again, I don't know if this is a bug. Another theory I've had that I've kind of talked about, I think both on stream and maybe in a recent video, is that they could also change the proc to be based off of Nizao, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it would also be a little annoying to have to path to. You'd have to drop some other like talents, like maybe like you have to like Charred Passion, so you go Heart of the Ox, something like that, or you definitely want Counter Strike, but I feel like you might also want High Tolerance. So then it's like, well, do you get rid of Keg Volley? But Keg Volley is pretty strong. Maybe you don't play Empty the Cellar. So I don't know yet. But basically, we can't actually test this yet and how it's gonna work because half of, like, obviously we don't have Weapons of Order, so we can't do that. It's still energy. It's like some of these are still being spent on energy, which is also kind of strange. So yeah, I don't know. Basically, I think the class is moving in a really good direction. The big thing that I'm thinking of when I look at this is you're either going to have like a Fizz build with Shado-pan where you're going to not maybe even play into Breath of Fire. Like you might play maybe something that we've kind of played in the past, aka like this current season where you play more into like Rushing Jade Wind and you forgo some of these other nodes, which the talent tree is so buggy. I have to like deselect these manually, but like you might end up playing something more or less like this, which then unlocks your tree. Then you can put points down here and you can then forego having Breath of Fire, which I know a lot of players probably don't want to hear that this would ever be a thing, but it's just like a theory. You probably play like more of a Fizz build with Shado-pan. And then with Master of Harmony, you would play more into like the magical elements. You would take like Fuel on the Fire. You would maybe take Charred Passions or Dragonfire Brew, playing South Salabim Strength, stuff like that, playing Celestial Flame. There's like this nice duality that the class is currently offering, which I really, really like. So yeah, not really sure though. We're going to just reset these talents and we're vibing. So really quick, a couple of like minor things. So let's test Disable really quick. So when I leg sweep here, and you know what, maybe I should actually swap to Rushing Jade Wind, because I think this will, because I think Rushing Jade Wind counts as melee attacks, which will maybe help. So if we apply Disable here, leg sweep is there, and then when it fades, it's now reapplying Disable over and over again. And funnily enough, it applied it for the full 15-second duration, but it didn't apply it to every mob. But as you can see, Disable is resetting over and over again. So what's nice about this, I guess like the only nice thing, well, I did say this is like a PvP talent. My issue with it is that we had special delivery in our toolkit, and special delivery, if you don't remember or don't know, it applies a 50% slow. If not, your keg smash applies a 20% slow. But what this does is it allows you then to have the 50% slow without having to play special delivery. So that is pretty nice, but it does require you to leg sweep the mob and the mob to be affected by leg sweep. So I'm imagining that if you, for some reason, like let's say you're playing with like a warrior, a shaman, what else has like AoE stuns, like a warlock with Shadow Fury, and they go like shockwave, cap totem, like Shadow Fury, and then like you go to leg sweep and shit's DR'd, maybe the slow's not gonna apply, and that could like be obnoxious. Obviously that's like very specific. Here, let's see, is disable gonna apply? Okay, disable is on this mob. Like, it's so weird that it didn't apply the first time. But yeah, this does count as melee attacks, the Rushing Jade Wind, so it should keep extending. So as long as you keep Rushing Jade Wind up, your disable will be applied most of the time, which I think is good. Like this is, you know, a fine change. Like I think if you have the extra talent point, like you might as well grab it. So one other thing that you may notice or may not notice, and I've talked about this before, but Storm South Keg has an increased range. I can cast Keg Smash all the way from back here. But if you also notice, my Flurry strikes are also proccing and hitting from all the way back here. And I don't know if this is gonna have any collateral effect with like accidentally pulling mobs. It shouldn't matter, but I'm curious to see if I can like, somehow oh, wait a second. Huh. So it's going off of your primary target. So if I throw a keg here and then target over this way, my Flurry Strikes is actually hitting over this way. Interesting. Okay. So that's definitely a change that I like. I noticed it the other day when I was testing, and I was like, but I like couldn't figure out a way to replicate it. But it is based off of your target. You can see the shadow damage is actually going off there. It's so weird because like none of the text is saying like on your primary target. Huh, okay. But yeah, this feels very nice. Like what I like about this change to it being off of Keg Smash is that threat should be like a lot less of an issue, because like when you roll into a pack, even if you're far away and you just Keg Smash, it's hitting all of these targets, and like that's a hefty bit of damage, so can't really complain. Again, I don't know if this is like a bug though. Like you can always chalk it up to the well, this is just currently like it's not working as intended, so we don't really know. But yeah, those are all the changes that we got this week with Brewmaster. Nothing too crazy to talk about. I mean, the class does play very nicely so far. It seems like we are going back to Breath of Fire, or we're going to probably prefer it for just a myriad of reasons. Things like if you are playing Celestial Flames, Vital Flame exists, which is kind of nice. You could also play into Charred Passions or Dragonfire Brew, and them buffing Breath should technically buff Dragonfire Brew then, since it'll deal 100% more damage and hit twice. So there is a world where you can play Dragonfire Brew probably again. So we'll see. Again, like I said, tuning is like way, way down the road. So we really don't know yet, but yeah, overall, I think the class is moving in a good direction. I would like to see them in the next build. Hopefully, of course, they have their own schedule. I'd like to see either Shado-pan in a spot where we can actually like play and test it and see how it actually feels, or I'd like them to actually add the Master of Harmony stuff. But because right now we basically can't play either of our trees at level 90 because, well, we just can't. We're missing half our towns here, and these towns don't work. So, yeah, hopefully that sheds some light on this tank. I'm looking forward to future testing, and I'll probably be on stream later this week doing some leveling and stuff. So if you want to see some Brewmaster leveling in the new zone, come check it out. Link will be down below. Self-plug. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.